Alright, so good afternoon to everyone and welcome to another episode of Moyo Math. Today we'll be looking at the second part of consumer arithmetic as we prepare and position ourselves to ensure we absorb all of this thought and you are given all the necessary information to help you to prepare for your exam in May, June of 2025. Of course, the objective is to achieve distinctions in mathematics, and every Saturday from now until exams in May, June, I'll be doing all the respective components in mathematics to help you to prepare for the examination. So, today we are continuing with our consumer arithmetic. We did part 1 last week, and today we're looking at part 2. So let's get into it. So today we are looking at the topics bills, commission, depreciation, discount, sales tax or VAT, and we have income tax. So starting off with bills, we have different types of bills. You have shopping bills, you have phone bills, you have electricity bills. If it's your electricity bill, which is a household bill, or if not, bill for an office, we know using electrical appliances, we must pay an electricity bill. Electricity is charged for according to the number of units of energy used and for the period it is used. Whether it's used quarterly, how the electricity company charges, of course you are billed accordingly and you have to pay accordingly. Electricity is measured in kilowatt hours. The variables we normally see appearing on our bill will be the energy charge at different rates. You have the time of day, whether it's peak or off peak. You have standard charges, which will be the rental of a meter, and of course you have VAT. For phone bills, you have again, almost every household, office or building will have at least one phone, and you must pay your bill every month. Of course, you see variables appearing on that bill also. The distance and duration of each call, the cost of the call, depending on where you are located, whether it's foreign or local. You have peak or off-peak periods where you're charged. You have when you communicate with an operator, direct dialing, and of course you have your standard charges, which will be your rental of the phone, and of course VAT. So let's look at a question involving a shopping bill. So it states here, the table below shows Pamela's shopping bill. Some of the information was not included. So what we want to do is to calculate the values of W, X, Y, and Z, which of course is not included. So let's start with W. So the item, of course, is rice. And we want to determine what is the total cost of 6.5 kilograms of rice at a unit price of $2.40. For us to do so, it's simply a case of multiplying $2.40 by 6.5 kilograms, and this will give us $2.40 times 6.5 will give us $15.60. For us to determine X, which represents the unit price of your potatoes, for us to find X, you have 4 bags of potato and the total cost is $52.80. So therefore the unit price, the cost of 1 bag of potatoes will be to divide $52.80 by 4 bags, and that will give us a unit price of $13.20. Y, which is to determine the quantity of milk, we have the unit price, which is $2.35, and the total cost of the quantity of milk, it's $14.10. So for us to determine how many cartons of milk will cost $14.10, your total cost, you simply divide $14.10 by $2.35. When we divide those two, we're going to get here 6 cartons. And lastly, we want to determine what is Z, what is the percentage VAT. For us to determine such, we are going to create a proportional relationship. The total cost of all your items is subtotal. It is $82.50. And if we have to determine what is the percentage VAT, what we're going to do is to create a proportional relationship where the total cost or the subtotal cost is $82.50, and that will correspond to 100%. So we're using a proportional relationship between the total cost and, of course, your total of your percentage, which will be 100%. So we're going to create that proportional relationship of the total cost of all items, which is $82.50. That will be equal to 100%. So that's the initial cost, the total cost, that's 100%. So if we have to determine what is 9.9%, what that is equivalent to in terms of your percentage, we're going to determine first what $1 is equal to. That is equal to 100 over 82.50. And then we can determine what $9.90, what that is equal to. In terms of a percentage, so this will be 100 all over 82.50 times 990. When we work that out, what are we going to get? What percentage are we going to get? So this is 9.90 multiplied by 100 divided by 82.50, which will give us 12%. So the percentage VAT is equal to 12%. So let's look at the second question, which deals with a shopping bill again. And we have here the table below. It shows a shopping bill prepared by Miss Rowe, or prepared for Miss Rowe, and the prices of some of the items are missing. So we have to determine what are the missing items. So again, the unit cost price of 3 kilograms of sugar, we don't know, we have to find that, but the total cost price is $10.80. So the unit cost price, which is the cost of 1, if you know 3 kilograms is equal to $10.80, then 1 is very easy to find, which is X, will be $10.80 divided by 3. So we're going to get here $10.80 divided by 3 will give us $3.60 with the unit cost price, right, of 1 kilogram of sugar. So let's determine what Y is equal to and Z. So Y, if we read part 2, so this is part 1, part 2. So part 2, for us to find Y and Z, it says if the cost of 1 kilogram of rice is 80 cents more than 1 kilogram of flour, calculate the values of Y and Z. So the cost of 1 kilogram of rice, so if we look at our bill, 1 kilogram of rice is 80 cents more than 1 kilogram of flour. So we know that, and I'll start by writing here, to find y, 1 kilogram of rice is, which is y, is 80 cents more than 1 kilogram of flour. 1 kilogram of flour, which is a unit cost price, it's $1.60. So 1 kilogram of rice, which is y, this is y, will be equal to 80 cents plus $1.60, which is equal to $2.40. So if you have to find out the value of z, that will be straightforward. If we know what is the cost of, or the unit price of 1 kilogram of rice, then it's easy for us to find 4 kilograms of rice. And 4 kilograms of rice will be to multiply 4 by $2.40. And $2.40 times 4 will give us $9.60. That will be your answer for Z. Alright, let's move on to another. So we're looking at here we have two plans. We have here a store is promoting a new mobile phone under two plans. So plan A, plan B, dealing with mobile phones, and the plans are advertised as shown in the table below. So we have for plan A, you have to deposit the amount shown. Similarly for plan B, we have the monthly installments for both plan A and plan B. We have the number of months to repay for both plan A and plan B, and the tax on all payments for both plan A and plan B. So what they want us to do in part 1 is to calculate the total cost of the phone under plan A. So let's work out plan A. So what is the total cost? So the total cost is simply for us to add our deposit of $400 to the monthly payment. It is $65, and of course the number of months to repay will be 12 months. So we know for us to determine the cost for the 12 months, it's going to be simply to multiply $65 by 12, and of course the tax on all payments is 0% plus 0%. So our total cost for plan A will be $400 plus 65 times 12, which is 780. So 400 plus 780 will give us $1,180. So that will be the total cost under plan E. Now, which of the two plans, A or B, is a better deal? Looking at part 2 and justify our answer. So now, for us to justify, we need to determine what is the total cost under plan B, and we can make a comparison to determine. Obviously, we will go with most persons will go with the cheaper plan. They consider that to be the better deal. And if that is the case, obviously that's justification for your answer. So let's work out what is plan B. So plan B, again, the total cost, that will be equal to your deposit of $600 plus the monthly installment of $80, but for 6 months, so it will be 6 by 80. plus there's a 5% tax on all payments. So 5% plus 5% tax of all payments. So let's determine what's the total cost, and we're going to add to that 5% of all payments made. So this will be, let's determine first what is the deposit plus your monthly installments, that's the amount paid, and we find 5% of that which we add to. So this will become 600 plus 480 will give us $1,080 plus, and we're going to find 5% of all payments. Of course, we're going to add that to our total cost. So that will be 5% of 1,080. So we're going to get 1,080 plus 5% of that, that's 5 divided by 100 times 1080, that's 54. So the total cost of Plan B will be 1,080 plus 54, 1,080 plus 54, which will give us $1,134. So obviously the better deal is Plan B. What was your justification? Justification it is cheaper. Alright, so that's a justification. It is cheaper. Alright, so let's move on to another question. This question we'll be looking at electricity. So John's monthly electricity bill is based on the number of kilowatt hours of electricity that he consumes for that month. He is charged $5.10 per kilowatt hour of electricity consumed. For the month of March 2016, 2 meter readings are displayed in the table below. So you have this table below, so we have the meter reading at the beginning of March, we have the meter reading at the end of March, and they want us to calculate the total amount that John pays for electricity consumption for the month of March 2026. So let us first determine how much electricity was consumed in the month of March. We have at the beginning, we have at the end, so we can determine how much was consumed, and we know how much he is charged per kilowatt hour. 1 kilowatt hour is equal to $5.10. So we can determine how much John pays for the electricity consumed in the month of March. So simply, part 1, we know that kilowatt hour of electricity consumed will be equal to, this is for the month of March, for March, this will be 3,307 kilowatt hours, and we're going to subtract from that 3,011 kilowatt hours. So 3,307 subtract 3,011 will give us 296 kilowatt hours. So that is the amount of kilowatt hours consumed for the month of March. So let's determine how much was paid by John in the month of March. The amount paid will be to multiply our 296 kilowatt hours by $5.10. When we multiply those two, we're going to get $1,509.60. Will be the amount paid by John for the month of March. So the amount paid for March. Then, so that's part 1. Let's look at part 2. For the next month, April 2016, John pays $2,351.10 for electricity consumed. They want us to determine the meter reading at the end of April 2016. So what is the meter reading? So for the month of April, this is how much he pays. He pays $2,351.10 for electricity. So for us to determine the meter reading in kilowatt hours, if we know initially 1 kilowatt hour is equal to $5.10, then it's going to be very straightforward for us to determine how much $2,351.10 will be equal to. So again, we set up our simple proportional relationship between the cost per kilowatt hour, so that is $5.10 is equal to 1 kilowatt hour. So let's determine how much $2,351.10, how much that is equal to. So $1 is equal to 1 all over 510, and therefore $2,351.10 will be 1 all over 510 times $2,351.10. So you're going to get here $2,351.10 divided by 510 will give us 461 kilowatt hours. Okay? So that is how much kilowatt hours $2,351.10 will be equal to. Right, let's move on to another. So we're looking at commission. So what is commission? Commission basically is a percentage of the total value of a product sold. So, for example, if you have a salesman, one of those car companies, and he sells X number of cars for the year, then what he will receive is a percentage of the amount, total amount sold for the year. He sold for the year. And that percentage will be known as his commission. And of course, that salesman is given a flat salary every month. So to determine his total salary or for the given period, we're going to add that commission to his total salary, his base salary. So we can determine what is the commission, what is the total amount of money he will receive for the given period. Commission plus his salary for the period, which is known as a gross wage. So let's look here at a question. In a certain company, a salesman is paid a fixed salary of $3,140 per month plus an annual commission of 2% of the total value of cars sold for the year. If the salesman sold cars valued at $720 in 2009, they want us to calculate his fixed salary. Good? So, to determine his fixed salary, what do we do? we are going to multiply $3,140 by 12 months because we want to determine what is the fixed salary for the year. So part 1 is fixed salary for the year. That will be equal to $3,140 times 12. That is $3,140 times 12, which will give us $37,680. Right, that's his fixed salary for the year. And part 2, the amount he receives in commission for the year. So the amount received in commission, remember commission is simply a percentage of the total amount that was sold. So the commission will be 2% of $720,000. So we're going to find 2% of that. So 2% of $720,000 will give us $14,400. And his total income for the year. So total income, which is the same as his, his gross wage for the year, total income. Will be to add his commission to his fixed salary for the year, which is $37,680 plus $14,400. We're going to get here $14,400 plus $37,680, which is $52,080 will be his income for the year. Alright, let's look at another. So we're looking at depreciation. So what is depreciation? Depreciation is any item that where there's a reduction in value of that item, over a particular period. So for example, a car normally will depreciate because when you purchase that car from the showroom and you drive out onto the streets, that car will immediately undergo wear and tear, and therefore it will depreciate in value. Okay, so the value will be decreased. So for us to determine the depreciation, now the value of the vehicle after n years, of course you purchase it for a particular price, you would expect it to be the same price after X number of years. So for us to determine that value, we're going to use this important formula here. That value is known as the book value after n years, and it's the principal, and we have in brackets 1 subtract the rate all over 100. Of course, 1 subtract the rate over 100 is within brackets, raised to the power of n. P in that formula is the initial cost of the item or asset. R is the rate of depreciation per annum. N is the number of years in which the asset was depreciated. And for us to determine the amount by which the asset depreciated, it's simply the book value. We're going to subtract that from the initial cost of the item. So you know what is the amount it depreciated by. So let's look at this question. The table below gives information on the values and rates of depreciation in value of 2 motor vehicles. So of course, motor vehicles certainly will depreciate in value. We have a taxi, we have a private car. So they want us to find the values of P and Q. So let us find P, which is the value after 1 year, your depreciated value after 1 year. So, or if not, yes, if not, what is the book value after 1 year? So for us to do so, we can use our formula. Let's get familiar with using the formula. So 1 P will be equal to, this is the value after 1 year. Using the formula, A is equal to the value of P. Good? A is equal to P into 1 subtract R over 100 raised to the power of N. P in this case will be the initial value of 40,000. 1 subtract R, it's 12%, so we'll put 12 over 100 raised to the power of N, and the value after 1 year, so N will be 1. This is 40,000 times 1 subtract 12 over 100. That's 0.88. So 0.88 by 40,000 will give us $35,200. That will be the value of P. So let's find Q. Value of Q. So Q, of course, will be what is the rate of depreciation. So the rate of depreciation. So what we can do here is for us to determine the rate of depreciation, what we can do is allow we can determine first or we can compare, if we have to determine the rate of depreciation for $21,250, right? We can compare the initial value that is equal to 100%, and from there we can determine what will be the rate of depreciation for $21,250. Yeah? Or we can, another way we can do this, we can determine what is the depreciated value. Yeah? And that depreciated value will equate to 100%. And from there we can determine what is the value after 1 year for $21,250. That's another way of doing it. Alright? So we can say here our depreciated value, let's do this way. Our depreciated value will be subtracting from 25,000, we're going to subtract from that 21,250. So let's subtract $21,250 from 25,000, which is $3,750. Right? That's your depreciated, that's how much you depreciate by that amount. So that amount will equate to 100%. So you can say 100%, or that amount is equal to 100%. Because remember, what you have to convert to always goes on the right of the relationship. So 1% is equal to 100 over 3750. and therefore right, and therefore the sorry, not one. This is $1 is equal to that amount, yeah? And therefore, what percentage will 21,250 equal to? Alright, let me read this way. So let me read this way. So for us to determine what percentage we would have depreciated by after 1 year, from 25,000 to 21,250, we allow 25,000, which is the initial, to be equal to 100%. So I'll start out by saying here 25,000 is equal to 100%. I'll find for 1, which is 100 over 25,000. So we'll find for 1, so find for $1. So 25,000 is equal to this. $1 is equal to that. And $21,250 will be equal to 100 over 25,000 times 21,250. Let's hold that up. Let's hold it again. This is 100 multiplied by 21,250 divided by 25,000. That will give us 85%. So it decreases by 85%. So for us to determine what is the yearly rate of depreciation, remember it depreciates by 85%. 100% is the initial, it depreciates by 85%. So therefore the yearly rate of depreciation, will be to subtract 85 from 100. Which will give us 15%. Alright? So it decreases by 15%. That's your yearly rate of depreciation. Alright? So let's look at part 2. The value of the taxi after 2 years. You want to determine what's the value of the taxi after 2 years. So the raise here. So the value of the taxi after 2 years, again, we're using our formula. So after 2 years, what will be the value of the taxi? Obviously, it's going to depreciate, and let's determine what's the amount it depreciated to, which is known as your book value. So that will be A is equal to P into 1 minus R over 100 raised to N. P, we know in this case is a taxi, which is 40,000. 1 minus R will be what? That's the rate 12 all over 100 raised to N, which is 2 years. This is 40,000 times 1 minus 12 over 100 is 0.88 raised in power of 2. So 0.88 squared will be 0.7744 times 40,000. Right, so we're going to get $30,976. After a 2-year period, the value of the taxi will depreciate as that amount. Right, so therefore we're using your formula for depreciation. That's very similar to that of compound interest, except for compound interest we use an addition sign instead of a subtraction sign. Alright? So let's look at the next. We're looking at discount. So discount is a percentage of the selling price, right? When you purchase something from a store, clothing store, let's use a clothing store as an example, and you are going to be given a discount, it's a percentage of how much the item is sold for. And of course you have your discounted price. The discounting price will be the selling price subtract the discount. Or the discounted price, remember it's a discount, so it's a percentage decrease. We take the percentage away from 100 and we multiply that by the selling price. That's another way of obtaining the discounted price. Yeah, so let's get familiar with discount, a percentage of the selling price. So, children go to a rodeo camp during the Easter holiday. Mrs. Reka buys bananas and oranges for the children at the camp. Bananas cost $3.85 per kilogram. Mrs. Reka buys 25 kilograms of bananas and receives a discount of 12%. How much money does she spend on bananas? So, per kilogram it's $3.85. She purchased 25 kilograms. So therefore, the total amount for the 25 kilograms will be, so looking at 25 kilograms of bananas at $3.85 per kilogram. That will be equal to 25 times $3.85, which will give us 25 times $3.85 will give us $96.25. Right, so that's the cost of the 25 kilograms of bananas. But she receives a discount. So she receives a discount. So the discount will be 12% of the $96.25. So let's find 12% of that. So that's 12 divided by 100 multiplied by $96.25, which will give us $11.55. That's a discount. And therefore, how much money does she spend? So what will be the discounted price? Learn how much money she actually spends after getting that discount. Her discounted price will be to subtract $11.55 from our $96.25. So we're going to get $84.70. Or the other approach we can use, or to get a discounted price, we can say, remember discount is a percentage decrease. So we can subtract 12 from 100 and we're going to multiply that by the cost of the bananas, total cost of the bananas. So that will be 88% times $96.25. So we work that out, we're going to get 88 divided by 100 multiplied by 96.25, which will give us the same $84.70. Good? So that's another way of obtaining your discounted price. Of course, we found the discount and we found the initial cost of the bananas. Yeah? So let's look at next, sales tax or VAT. So A sales tax is if you purchase an item in a grocery, obviously a sales tax will be added to the cost of that item. That sales tax is also known as VAT, value added tax. And to determine the VAT, it's always a percentage of the price of the item, yeah, which we will then add to the price of the item. So the price of the article or item inclusive of VAT will be to add your VAT to the price of the article, and that's one way of obtaining the price of the article inclusive of VAT. Another approach will be, because sales tax is a percentage increase, we can add the percentage to 100 and we can multiply that by the price of the articles. That's another way of obtaining the same result. So if we have here, the table below shows a bill prepared by Ms. Rowe. The prices of some items are missing, so I included those items. That's for here, here, and there. So the 360, the 240, and the 960. So this was done in a question previously, and of course I already included those values. And it states here, a tax of 10% of the total cost price of the 3 items is added to Mrs. Rowe's bill. What is Mrs. Rowe's total bill including the tax? So 10% tax is added to the total cost of the 3 items. So let's determine what is the total cost of the 3 items, and then we're going to add our sales tax to it. Yeah? So total cost of 3 items, this will be equal to $10.80 plus $9.60 plus $3.20. When we add those 3 items, the cost of the 3 items, we're going to get 1080 plus 960 plus 320 will give us $23.60. That's the total cost of the 3 items, but a sales tax of 10% was added on to the total cost. So let's determine what is the sales tax. Will be 10% of that total cost. So find 10% of that. And we're going to get $2.36. So therefore the total cost of the bill inclusive of tax, right? Total bill inclusive of tax will be to add that $2.36 to our $23.60. So we add those two, we're going to get $25.96. Or the other approach we can use to determine the total bill inclusive of tax, or total bill inclusive of tax will be to implement what we call percentage increase. So I'm going to add 10% to 100%. And I'm going to multiply it by the total cost of the item, which is $23.60. So this will be 110% of $23.60. So that's 110 divided by 100 multiplied by 2360. I'm going to get the same answer of $25.96. So this is how much Mrs. Rowe will have to pay for the items, which will include, of course, the tax, the sales tax. So let's look at here another question involving sales tax, but they want us to determine what is the original price. What is the original price? So it's a case where we're moving backwards. what is the original price. So they give you the price inclusive of VAT, but we want to work backwards to determine what is the original price. So to do so, what do we do? So to determine your original price, that sales tax of 15%, of course, that is included in your 165.31, and if it's included, it means that that sales tax is a percentage increase. It will indicate us that 115% will be equal to $1,165.31. So 115% is equal to $165.31. And if we have to determine what is the original price, which is equal to 100%, so we know 1% will be 165.31 over 115, and therefore 100% will be 165.31 over 150 times 100, and that will give us what is the original price. So this is 165.31 divided by 115 multiplied by 100. All right, I'm going to put it to the nearest cent. We're going to get $143.747, which is 143.75. All right, so $143.75 will be the original cost of the oranges. Yeah, so this is working backwards, dealing with sales tax or VAT. So let's look at income tax. So income tax is tax paid for income earned, and of course, when you pay tax on income earned, that will help in many ways. It's going to help the government to, help with the operations of any country. If it will help with the infrastructure, building of roads, if it helps with, maintaining schools, supplying, your medical facilities with the necessary equipment or medication, this is what your income tax will contribute towards. So, for us to determine your income tax, there's something called taxable income. That is income that is taxed. And the taxable income is basically your gross income minus the total tax-free income. So the tax-free income will be allowance. Those are allowances that aren't taxed. For example, if you purchase a house, first time owner of a property, if you're studying, those allowances are non-taxable. Alright? So for us to determine taxable income, we're going to take our non-taxable income, which is your tax-free income, away from your gross income. Right? So this is how much you need for the year. And note, you are taxed based on your salary cap, so or based on how much you earn annually. So if you earn above the minimum, then you're going to be taxed. If you earn less than or equal to the minimum, then you're not taxed. So depending on the bracket that you fall within, you are taxed, and of course the money from that tax will be used in a very beneficial way. Right? So, and of course there's a net income, which will be to take your taxable income from your gross income. So let's look at a question. A man's annual salary is $45,000. His tax-free allowance is $13,000, and he has to pay a tax of 35% on his taxable income. So what is the tax payable? So for us to determine the tax payable, we are going to take, first we have to take his, we have to get his taxable income, right? So his taxable income will be to take his tax-free income or his allowance away from his gross salary. So he's taking his allowance, which is his tax-free income, away from his gross income, which is $32,000. So this is his taxable income, and it states that he has to pay tax of 35%. So we know 35%, if this is his taxable income, then the tax payable will come from that $32,000. And the tax he has to pay is 35% of his taxable income. So the tax payable will be 35% of $32,000. So 35% of 32,000 that is $11,200. And therefore the man's net income, will be to take his taxable income away from his gross income. So this will be his net income. So his net income will be, I'm taking away from $45,000, $11,200, which will give us $33,800. All right? Yeah. So that will bring us to the end of today's session. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We are going to continue every Saturday to push and prepare for the CSEC exam. For the next few Saturdays, I'll be focusing on the algebraic component. We know that's a big component. Students often have challenges with the algebraic component. So I'll be focusing on that component. But we're going to continue to push forward to prepare for this very important exam in May, June. So tell everyone, tell all your friends, family, everyone that you know to be a part of the session coming closer to the exam. I'll ask students or individuals to join MadeTickets.com, where you're going to get very valuable material to help you to prepare for the CSEC examination. So with that said, I want us to stay committed, dedicated, positive to the task ahead, and I will see you next week. Take care everyone. Have a great evening.